What's good, Wizards fans? It's your host, the real Ed Oliver and Brandon Scott. Today, we're going to talk about Wizards GM candidate Milt Newton and also a coaching rock. Some coaches were fired on the Wizards staff. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you guys get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so as we've heard, of course, Troy Halliburton broke the news on our show last week or 2 weeks ago that Milt Newton, that the Wizards had conversations with him to take over the new GM spot. Also, Abel Wallace came out with a story saying that Milt Newton and Trajan Langdon, also doubled down and confirmed with what Troy Halliburton already reported. So we're just going to talk about Milt Newton and his tenure with the Timberwolves and what he's done as the assistant GM as the Milwaukee Bucks. And he did spend 10 years with the Wizards under Ernie Grunfeld and with Tommy Shepard. So I know a lot of people, when they hear, because the whole thing is Ted Leonsis said out of house, or, outside of the organization in the letter that he wrote, or the PR writing saying that they're going to look for a new GM. He said in there somebody outside of the organization. So a lot of people think it's a red flag that Milt Newton was with the organization from 2003 to 2013. How much of a red flag do you see that is as Milt Newton as a candidate, and does that really make you turn away from Milt Newton as a candidate?
Wow, I mean, that's a good question, man, because there's gonna be red flags to throw up because he was underneath Ernie Grunfeld. Tommy was there, so obviously they're the last two GMs that didn't work out. So definitely red flags, especially if you look at Tommy Shepard was underneath Ernie Grunfeld, and he was easy choice for Ted Leonsis to kind of promote from within. So yeah, there's definitely red flags to me, but it's kind of mixed results. Like I said, we're going to go over, the draft and transactions he's made, but mixed bag as far as, moves he's made. He does have local ties, so I think he is more of a realistic goal for this franchise, honestly, between him and Trajan Langdon. I don't see us getting Bob Myers. I just don't see it happening. I don't see Uziri coming out of Toronto. I think Tim Connelly stays in Minnesota. I think realistically it comes down to these two guys, which is Trajan Langdon and Milt Newton, man. So Milt Newton, I mean, like I said, we're gonna get into it, but red flags, yes, but a part of me doesn't want to judge him on that. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, and I get what people are gonna say. I get it. I totally get it. Obviously, again, he worked underneath Ernie and Tommy, but a part of me wants to give him a chance. I mean, because like you said, we only got two options. I do not see a big candidate coming here. I just don't see it. I never really did. I know you always want to shoot high. But again, just like one time we thought Aaron Rodgers was going to go to the Commanders. You got to shoot high, But I never saw it really happen, man. So I think that if I'm gonna put money down on it, he's going to get the job. I'm not. I don't know, not 100%. I'm about 75-25 that he's going to be the candidate. Now I think that Trajan Langdon does have a chance, and I think he deserves a chance because we went over his track record and he's done pretty well when it comes to trading. Now drafting is another question. Same questions we had with Tommy. But red flags, yes, but I would entertain it because I think that it comes down to two. So out of the two candidates, I'm cool with either one because I know that's pretty much our best chance. So
yeah, actually, I don't have a problem with Milt Newton, and I know everybody has a red flag because he was with Ernie, kind of like how Tommy Shepard learned under Ernie or was under him for more than 10 years. I don't have a problem with it because he was with different organizations. He was a GM with the Timberwolves. And he was with a winning organization as an assistant GM with the Bucks. So you would think that has rubbed off on him. They made big moves. They made a huge move for Drew Holiday. They signed Bobby Portis. They made a move for Brook Lopez. They signed PJ Tucker. That championship team, I thought that was a really good roster. Yes, there were a couple injuries here and there that kind of helped the Bucks get there. But, they beat a Nets team. The Nets, Kyrie Irving was hurt. James Harden was hurt. But they had to step up and win those games. And I thought they made a huge move after losing in the bubble against the Heat. They were like, hey, we got to make some moves to help Giannis out. Chris Middleton was a good find for the Bucks too. So that Bucks organization, they've done a heck of a job building around Giannis. And they're a cutthroat organization too, man. They just fired Mike Budenholzer, who has been a heck of a coach. Has won Coach of the Year, had a 50-60 win season with the Hawks. Just won the championship in 2021, and they fire him in the next 2 years. And we're looking at us, and we're keeping guys around that have had losing records as head coaches. So, I personally, I get why people are concerned about him being a candidate, because they just want somebody fresh. They don't want any ties to Ernie or Tommy at all. I get that, but I would give Milt a chance just off the simple fact of being under a championship and a winning organization. A team that has been able to find gems, an organization that has been able to find gems that aren't just, the top five pick or a lottery pick. So they've been doing a really good job of that. And they have an identity, of course, over there. They have an MVP candidate, and they've done a superb job, I feel like, building around Giannis. And they're not scared to make changes. And like I said, with Mike Budenholzer, they're not scared to make a change if they don't like something.
Oh, they definitely don't mind making a change because, like you said, Bud's out of there and he hadn't had a losing record. So, they definitely have a high standard. I'll say that. They have a high standard. So, yeah, like you said, I understand the red flags. I get it why people would be skeptical. But here's the thing. When it comes to – and we hear small market a lot with the Wizards. And in reality, it's not a small market. The DMV, the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area is a major market. But the fact of the matter is when we mean small market – it's kind of a small market mind frame with the Wizards. But so the fact that he has worked with small markets like Minneapolis and Milwaukee and have been very, have been part of, look, even though he's not the GM over there in Milwaukee, he was in the room. So he was there when the process was happening. So, it's kind of the same thing of looking at Kyle Kuzma with his championship pedigree. Was he a starter? Was he a major guy with the Lakers? I'm going to say no, role guy, but some of that pedigree rums off. He was on the court when it happened. So, he was in the room when a lot of these moves happened. So you best believe a lot of good things have rubbed off from him. So I would not be mad. I will be honest. I do lean towards Trajan Langton. Just the fact that it would be a breath of fresh air for this organization just because there's no ties. But then again, like you said, give him a chance. If he gets hired, give him a chance, fill him out. Because at the end of the day, we want whoever the GM is, we want him to be successful. And at the end of the day, we want West to be successful. It's just that at the end of the day, we just want wins. So give him a chance because, in my opinion, I think those are the only two candidates that really have a chance for this job. I think Bob Myers is 1,000 miles away from here from accepting this job. The same thing with Uziri. No reason to leave Toronto, man. And the same thing with Conley. There's really no reason to leave Minnesota. He's already got a multi-year deal. He's solidified. He's cemented to the job. So I think it comes down to these two. And Newton comes in, I'm going to support him. And I really don't have an issue with it. Just give him a chance. But again, chances in DC, man, they need to be a 3-year chance because, we need to see results. So that's my thing. With any kind of moves for this organization, my comment is this. I want to see results, especially going forward with the solid 3. Good and well. Cool. I want to see results. So he comes in, I expect him to get to work and really try to find a gem in his draft, man, because this is a deep draft, man. So
yeah. And then Aaron Rodgers, I never thought he was coming to the Commanders, but that is a good comparison. Bob Myers, I do think there's somewhat of a chance, but I just don't know. I just don't know because I didn't think the Commanders were going to get Eric Bieniemy. They ended up getting him. That was a good get. So you just never know, but I wouldn't hang my hat on that. I do think there's more chances that they end up with Trajan Langdon or Milt Newton from the Bucks. I think those are more realistic options. Like you said, Tim Connolly, he just got with the Timberwolves. He just left the Nuggets less than 3 years ago. So I don't see him leaving them that quickly. And then Masai Ujiri, he basically has the keys to the city in Toronto. He just won a championship in there with Kawhi Leonard not too long ago. So I don't see him leaving there either. We already tried that a couple years ago trying to lure Masai Ujiri. So I don't think that is going to happen either. So I think the most realistic probably is the two guys that we've heard so far, unless they interview some more guys. But we're going to get to more of Milt Newton's tenure as the general manager of the Timberwolves, look at some of his draft picks and a couple of trades that he made and grade them and compare them a little bit maybe to how Tommy Shepard did with the Wizards. But before we do get to that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Looking for DC Defenders tickets or the XFL Championship? I use Gametime all the time for Defenders tickets. Defenders tickets have been packed, but using the Gametime app makes it so easy to get DC Defenders tickets. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. They show images of your seat views on the app and lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, and more. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price if you find tickets in the same selection and row for less. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. You get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so Milt Newton was hired by the Minnesota Timberwolves as the general manager in September 2013. Now, the first real move that he made really was the draft. He hired Flip Saunders as the head coach. Rest in peace. Of course, Flip was with the Wizards as well, so they had ties there and history there. Now, they drafted Zach LaVine in the 2014 draft. And I like that move a lot. That was a good pick, and they really found a gem in the later half of the lottery, which the Wizards have really struggled to do. So in that draft, the 2014 draft, the first pick of the draft was Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Joel Embiid was the third pick, Marcus Smart was 6th, Julius Randle was 7th, Alfred Payton went 10th, Doug McDermott went 11th, Dario Saric went 12th, Zach LaVine went 13th. TJ Warren went 14th. Adrian Payne was 15th. Yusuf Nurkic was 16th. James Young out of Boston was 17th. Tyler Ennis was 18th. Gary Harris 19th. Bruno Caboclo was 20th. So they definitely could have went with some other options. And Zach LaVine has been an all-star. He's been a great player. So I think that's a great pick. So what would you grade that pick, being the 13th pick at the 2014 draft?
Oh, 13th pick? Bro, that's an A. Easy. Right. I mean, Zach LaVine is money. I mean, he's a scorer. You know, once they took him out of point guard and made him shooting guard, bro, yeah, that's easy. That's an A, man, because he's been electrifying. You know, Minnesota really found his own in Chicago. Yeah, that's easy. A.
Right. Yeah, I wish we could. Yeah, because we struggled with the 9th and the 10th pick of the draft. You know, we struggled to find home runs, and they Milt Newton certainly hit a home run with that draft pick in the 2014 draft. So. The 2014 and 2015, the big move that he made, of course, was trading Kevin Love. Kevin Love wanted out. He wanted to play with LeBron. Kind of same thing with Trajan Langdon. Anthony Davis wanted to play with LeBron, so they had to send him to the Lakers, and they got a haul back. So I thought they made a good trade for Kevin. I thought they made a good trade trading Kevin Love to the Cavs. They ended up with Andrew Wiggins. They got Anthony Bennett, of course, who they eventually waived. They got a projected 2015 first-round pick as well from that trade. So what did you think about the trade? I mean, they had no choice. They had to trade Kevin Love because, once again, when somebody wants to play with LeBron and LeBron recruits you, it's like you have no choice.
Look, when the unofficial commissioner says he wants somebody, he's going to get them. I mean, like you said, they had to get off the contract and send him to Cleveland, man. So I thought it was a good move. Now, Anthony Bennett, I thought they were trying to work with him. It's just that's probably one of the worst first round number ones ever. I don't want to talk about Kwame, man. I don't want to throw no shade on Kwame, but I mean, all in all, Anthony Wiggins is really, he developed in Minnesota, so he really turned into a scorer. He found his own in Golden State. I could get that, and there was chemistry issues, but that's a whole nother conversation. But as far as a pick or the trade, it's solid. Anthony Wiggins came in here and he put in some good years in Minnesota. So.
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins.
Oh. Andrew Wiggins. I keep saying Anthony, man. Yeah, Andrew Wiggins, man. He came into Minnesota and he played well. So, and I know there was a drama with Jimmy Butler, and but all that aside, I think that it was a solid pickup getting rid of Kevin Love.
Right. And they ended up getting Thaddeus Young. It was a 3-team trade with the Sixers were involved as well. Now the record that year for them, 2014, the 2014-15 record for them was 16-66. 16-66. That's how they ended up getting the first pick of the draft. They got Karl Anthony Towns. So I mean, we both will probably agree that because that draft, a lot of people like Jahlil Okafor coming out of Duke. A lot of people like D'Angelo Russell with the Lakers as the second pick of the draft. D'Angelo Russell's been a fine player. Porzingis was the fourth pick of the draft, so they could have drafted Porzingis first. There was a lot of hype for Porzingis coming out, but of course, I think 100% people knew that Karl Anthony Towns was going to be the first pick of the draft.
Well, the hype must have missed Madison Square Garden, man, because I remember when they drafted him, he got booed.
Yeah, that is true. You're right.
They booed him out of there, man. So I know they regret that now. But Cat, again, that's no brainer in that draft, man. I mean, I could have told you Jahlil Okafor wasn't going to be anything on the defensive end coming in the NBA, man. He was a purely offensive guy at Duke. And even if you look at Duke, man, people destroyed him. They did whatever he wanted with him. So, Jahlil Okafor, I never understood anybody thinking that he was going to be number one because he wasn't going to have. D'Angelo Russell was intriguing coming out of Ohio State. But, yeah, again, Cat is pretty much no-brainer, man.
Right.
But I was going to say this real quick, man. My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But that is young. That's why I said, ooh, because that is young, man. He's probably one of the most under the radar, hard workers, defensive guys, glue guys in the NBA, man. Like everywhere he's been that glue veteran guy. So that's the good pickup for him in Minnesota.
Right. And they also drafted Tyus Jones in the second round, which is this is a pretty good pick. I mean, Tyus Jones has been a really good backup point guard.
Yeah.
He's ended up being a really good backup point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies behind Ja Morant. So he's been a good pick. Actually, let me confirm that. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tyus Jones was he was in the first round. I'm sorry, the 24th pick of the draft. So they ended up getting Tyus Jones as well, who's been a solid backup. Not a starter, but a really good backup. He's come in and played starter minutes for the Memphis Grizzlies at times when Ja Morant has been injured. And then the 2015 season, they signed Kevin Garnett. Of course, Kevin Garnett, it was kind of like a thing where you sign him to mentor Karl Anthony Towns. So he was there for a little bit. And then that was really his last season there. Tom Thibodeau came in and they went in a different direction. So, and then Tom Thibodeau went and drafted Chris Dunn with the fifth pick of the draft. And I like Chris Dunn, but of course, unfortunately, Chris Dunn just has not. He never hit his potential that he was supposed to.
Yeah, that was a wild draft because I believe that was when they drafted him and Rubio before Rubio came over from Spain, man. So they took a couple of point guards, but I think overall, man, he's got value out of late round picks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He's got decent value. Like you said, Tyus Jones. So he's got some value out of late round picks, which is what we're expecting in DC. Because if we're going to be competitive, we're looking for late round picks. So we need somebody who's going to be able to find diamonds in the rough for late rounders. So I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I like it. I like his picks. I think he did a good job with drafting, especially hitting Zach LaVine at pick 13. Like I said before, we struggled to find guys that we find solid guys, but the fact that he was able to hit a home run with Zach LaVine is very intriguing. So all the people who are naysayers about Milt Newton, maybe this might have opened your eyes a little bit more. So, but all right, let's move on to the coaching moves. A couple guys that were let go, but before we do that, we have a quick word from Brandon.
Yes, sir. Tonight's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. So you're asking yourself, how does it work? Well, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they go score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. That's right. Let me repeat: 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you can watch. This includes the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL, PGA Golf, college football, men's and women's college basketball, soccer, the WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, safe, and fast withdrawals. Currently in operation in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On to sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. And I know I rode with him tonight, and I think the 2 picks for me tonight was over 20 for Julius Randle and over 20 for Brunson. So it's looking pretty good at this point. So
yes, sir. Yeah, I said the Heat are winning 75-71. You said you bet on Brunson. He got 17. He's doing pretty well right now. Jimmy Butler's got 18 points right now, so he's starting to pick it up. But all right, let's get into the last part. So the Wizards made some moves here. This was reported by Josh Robbins and Fred Katz that via league sources this week the Wizards let go assistant coach / director of player development Alex McLean and assistant coach for analytics Dean Oliver. McLean had been with the team for 6 years. Oliver had been with the team for 4 years. McLean just completed his second season as assistant coach / director of player development. Oliver, the author of the book Basketball on Paper, is widely regarded as an innovator in the field of basketball analytics. Also, Ava Wallace, she wrote in her story as well that they will not be returning, according to multiple sources. These moves indicate that Coach Wes Unseld Jr. will have more power. So Ramona Shelburne last week just said that Wes Unseld Jr. is going to have a say in hiring the GM. Now Ava Wallace is saying that now this indicates that Wes Unseld Jr. will have more power. What are your thoughts on this? I'll say this real quick too. I do think, and it's funny because that this news came out the night after Rui had 20 points for the Lakers. And I might have heard that they fired these guys last week, but they just announced it really this week or 3 days ago. But yeah, I want to get your thoughts on it. And just Wes Unseld Jr. starting to get even more power per more media members.
Well, it tells me two things, man. Number one, Ted Leon sees that he needs to get more value out of his draft picks. You look at what we have. Yeah, we have good role guys. I like what Kispert has done. Denny, he's shot away from being a really good basketball player. And of course, Rui, he's went on to LA and he's doing well in the playoffs, man. He helping him, might help him win a championship. Things, looking, but he notices that you have to hit on draft picks. You cannot continue, especially if you look at the draft. But I think the biggest move that really made him think about it was Tyrese Halliburton. You missed on Tyrese Halliburton, especially when you had him in your hands to the point where you called him and said, look, you're going to be a Wizard. I mean, that has to hurt, especially when he's an all-star. So, I think that had a lot to do with it. And two, I'll say this, more power for Wes. I think it was famous when we did the interview with Chris Miller, where I was a guy that always got on Wes about not being vocal enough. I felt like he wasn't really digging in the players the way he should. And, from what Chris Miller said, he is curse him out a few times. He's tough. So a little more power. Okay. Okay. I'm cool with that. But more power comes more responsibility. And that means the microscope is going to be on you more. He's got to make that step from year 2 to year 3. And really, he's got to improve, man, because more responsibility. Look, I mean, you saw with Tommy. Look, he went from GM to became president of basketball operations. More responsibility means more scrutiny. So you lose your job that quicker. So, I don't have a problem with the move, but in the same token, that's another reason why he needs to step it up this season.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's getting a lot more power. It seems like I get it. He has a say, and getting the new GM. Some interviews, like if they don't get along, if he sits in with Bob Myers and they don't have the same vision, it's kind of like, Ted, would you pick Bob Myers over Wes? If they really didn't see eye to eye, personally, I'd be like, okay, yeah, we may have to go with Bob Myers and Wes. But Wes and Milt Newton, of course, they work together too, so they may have a good relationship as well. So that may give Milt Newton the edge over everybody else, as Milt Newton worked with Wes while he was with the Wizards in the years of 2003 to 2013. So, I mean, that's interesting there. And then giving Wes the autonomy and the power to fire guys, if he's the one that really made the decision that he wanted to let go of Dean Oliver and Alex McLean. Now, these guys are one guy, Alex McLean, was the developmental coach. And that's why I brought up Rui, is because, you see guys leave and they get better with other teams, where they making Dean Oliver the scapegoat for that, because you see why wasn't Rui doing this here in DC? And Rui was doing it. Rui had 30 points in the game right before he got traded. So, what's the real reason for these moves being made? But, yeah, like you said, man, Wes has to step up. Like you said, with more power or more money, more problems. More power is more responsibilities and more scrutiny. So, is he going to have that commanding voice over the locker room? He's going to make better decisions. he's on the hot seat too. This is a lame duck season for him, or he made the best out of it, and this team doesn't make the playoffs. But he was the guy that was the coach of 15 or more, or led the league in blown leads of 15 plus points or more. The terror getting blown out at home by the Nets by 30 or more, that was historically bad. The 35-point loss lead that we lost to the Clippers, that was historically bad. Giving up 100 points in the paint to the Nuggets, that was historically bad. So there's so many times where Wes has been on the wrong side of history. So, I mean, this is a put-up year for him, man. If he's getting more power, then he's got to show up as a coach. And these late-game decision-making, and he's got to drop some other plays and just give the ball to Brad and tell everybody to get out the way.
Yeah, that's another great point. He's got to change the philosophy, especially if you are retaining KP and Kuzma. You've got to give more responsibility to Kuzma and KP. And we both said it that last year when the offense flowed through KP or Kuzma, it was a lot more fluidity in it. So ball movement was better. So, yeah, he has to change some things. I think I think it really behooves his organization to get together and really talk about who roles and jobs and how to go forward. Because I think there's a lot of, especially when it comes to Ted Leonsis, Wes Unseld, the new general manager, and Bradley Beal. The four of those guys need to get together and talk about who's going to do what. Bradley Beal has to step out of GM's office. He's got to go back to the locker room. Focus on being a scorer. Get a point guard in here and go from there. I don't want to see him involved with moves. No. I think the best course going forward is everybody doing their job and doing it with somewhat a level of autonomy. Let the coach be the coach. GM, you find the personnel. Brad, you do your thing, and Ted just try to get people in the seats. But I think the problems with this organization is that people are kind of ebbing in other people's offices. Let people do their job, and I think that's the biggest thing is that the problems with when you had issues in the locker room when it was Trez or the multiple players. Spencer Dinwiddie. I hate to say his name, but there's been issues because nobody knows what the role is. You got Bradley Beal. So I think that would be the best course for Wes and his organization going forward. This offseason, man, is to get together and really define roles. Say, look, Brad, you do your thing, and that's my humble opinion. I think that, but again, Wes, he's not the only guy on the microscope. Yeah, I mean, with more responsibility, yes, he is definitely on the hot seat. He's got to perform because, look, man, you don't make the playoffs this next year. I'm just saying. So he's got to step it up, but he's not the only one. I'm thinking from an organizational standpoint, a lot of people in the hot seat, especially if you retain the solid three, because you're saying that, look, this is our core going forward. So coaching wise, he's got to be on point and he's got to really take that jump from year 2 to year 3.
Right. Yeah. And everybody in the presser said, we got to push the pace. Monte Morris said it. Multiple guys said that we got to push the pace. And Wes Unseld Jr. typically is a slow, methodical guy that wants to slow it down, but everybody wants to push the pace, and they're better when they're better running. They're athletic. They have some athletes. Brad is athletic. Porzingis can move. Kuz is athletic. He wants to run. Denny wants to get the ball and push. So can he make that adjustment next year? And so we'll see. It's a big year for him, a big offseason. So we just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Every day is tomorrow on the show. We're going to get back to grading players, and we'll probably talk a little bit about Scott Perry as a GM candidate as well. I just want to thank you guys for listening. Hell to the